Hey there, Mary Sheila from BioYouth Labs. I'm talking bones today, and I want to talk to you about them in a way that was like this big aha for me. So, we think about our bones as just our skeleton. It's like, oh yeah, it keeps us strong. And again, like I said before, we don't always think about our bones until we maybe break one, or if we get any diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis. But if you think about your bones, in the very core of your bones, in the marrow, that's where your immune cells are born. We build our blood cells and our immune cells, so they're doing a lot of work, not just holding us upright, and keeping us mobile like they do. So it's actually really cool to think about that. At least it was for me when I was like, wow, that's kind of amazing. All of our immunity and our white blood cells and our red blood cells, they're all just kind of born in the bone marrow and they make their way out. Pretty rad. But one of the things, though, that I have learned is that if we have a lot of inflammation, then instead of making those immune cells and blood cells, the bone marrow will make more fat instead. And if there is inflammation too, some of the cells will make more what we call osteoclasts, which are the bone cells that break down the bones. It's a normal process, but we'll make more of those instead of the osteoblasts, and instead we'll make more fat. And so it's not a good combination. And that's caused by inflammation. Not a good combination, caused by inflammation. Sorry, I couldn't resist. So I want to give you 5 general tips for lowering inflammation in the body. And these are powerful. And of course, there's more to the story, but the first one is that we want to make sure we're getting proper hydration, okay? This is in the form of, you guessed it, good old-fashioned H2O. Water is essential for life. Water moves everything around. So if you do have a lot of inflammation, you might have like some log jams in your waterways because there's a lot of inflammatory molecules. So when you start drinking more water, you're going to help the body to flush it. You're going to help flush the tissues that might be kind of stagnant with the waterways. So you want to make sure you're drinking enough water in between meals, not with them. If we just drink a whole bunch of water with our meals, we're going to dilute our digestive juices, and that's not a good combination. So drink water between meals and just try to stay hydrated for most of the day. It's great to start your day off with a good glass or 2 of water, because then you're already winning before you even have breakfast or your coffee or your tea. Okay, so that's the first tip. The second tip is to eat colorful fruits and veggies. Those colors that you see on your plate or that fruit and vegetables are displaying to you show that there are a lot of anti-inflammatory, antioxidants and polyphenols and all kinds of big, long, fancy names that will act as anti-inflammatory coolants to the inflammation. We can think of inflammation, it's kind of hot. It's like there's an extra little fire burning and we need to put that fire out. And those colorful green, red, yellow, orange, purple, white, whatever vegetables you can get that are all those different colors are going to start to put the fire out. So make sure each meal has at least half to 3/4 of your plate colorful vegetables. Like, your plate is so bright, you got to put your sunglasses on, okay? Okay, the third tip is you're eating those colorful fruits and vegetables, but what you do want to avoid is foods that you might have an allergy to. Now, you might not know what those foods are, so you might need to work with somebody to see if you could figure that out. And you might also be able to do an elimination on your own. So here's what I would suggest. Eliminate the top allergens: gluten, dairy, eggs, corn, soy, and if you eat a lot of nuts and peanut butter, maybe get rid of that for a minute. I'm not saying those are bad foods, but those tend to be the most allergenic. Get rid of those foods. Eat lean proteins or beans and vegetables and fruits, and root vegetables. Eat whole foods. Just eat things that don't come in lots of boxes and packages with labels, and see how you feel. And that is going to lower your inflammation, and you might start to feel better. And then once they're out of your system for, let's say you did it for 3 weeks, then you add it back in, that's when you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a headache like this in a while. What's going on? Or, oh, my digestion has shifted. Or, you're all congested. And then you know that that food is a possible allergen and you can keep it out of your diet. You could try it again another 3 months or something like that. But we want to lower inflammation, and the foods that we eat tend to really lead to inflammation. Okay, the next tip is also a food tip, and it is use spices. Yum! Just make your food more spicy and delicious. And I'm not talking about like cayenne all day. I'm talking about all of the spices. Find a good spice blend that you like, and just look for different spices out on the market that you like, whether it's, cinnamon or curry or Italian seasonings or Mexican seasonings or whatever seasonings they are. All spices, what they have in common is they are extremely nutrient dense. So you do actually get a lot of minerals and vitamins from them. Even though we just use a little bit, they're like the second most nutrient dense foods on the planet. And we also, they act to rev up digestion. So they support the digestive process, which is going to lower inflammation if our digestion is working good. And they're also going to get things moving throughout the digestive tract. And they are anti-inflammatory. That's what I meant to say. So you want to eat spices. So find the ones you love. And if you're like, well, I really like them, but my people I live with don't like them, then put some spices out on your table so you can spice your plate, so that you can be in charge of whatever spices you love and they can be in charge of what spices they love, right? That's a great way to do it. And it's really fun to do that with kids or grandkids. Let them have and choose which spices they like. Then they can start to learn about spices. Like, when we want to educate our palate, we have to learn and teach our palate how to try new things. So even if you're like, well, I tried this spice once and I just don't like it, well, try it again. See what happens. You might actually love it. And you might have to try it more than once, right? So spices are golden. The final tip I want to give you, and it's not as food related, but this is really key, is sleep. Our body, when we are more stressed and not sleeping well, right? We're not getting good sleep. That raises all of our hormones and our cortisol and might lead to more cravings. Sleep is extremely restorative. And in a sense, sleep is extremely anti-inflammatory. So get your Z's in. And a big part of that is just getting to bed earlier. That is the best way to do it. In fact, I'll tell you a little secret. The best way for adults to hack their sleep and sleep in is going to bed earlier. Because it is kind of hard to sleep in. I mean, not for everybody. I know we're all a little different, but sometimes it's like, no matter what time I go to bed, I still wake up at 6. So go to bed earlier so that you get restorative sleep. It's easier to fall asleep and not catch that second wind. We have a lot of distractions at night, binge watching and all this kind of stuff. So try your best to get a good night's sleep. Go to bed earlier. That is extremely anti-inflammatory, and all of those things are very, very bone supportive. I hope that's helpful. I hope you have strong, healthy bones for your whole life, and you can nourish yourself in that way. Have a great day.